All right, welcome to City Cooks, everybody. You know, so many of us identify with other cultures through food, including things that we remember from our very own past. That's why we have Dan Cito on the show today. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Well, we'd love to have you. We love this whole project that you're involved in. First of all, tell us about this, how you got involved in this.
I started with the Chinese Canadian Historical Society, so I got into a workshop for writing. And then we published 2 books. So the first book was on family history.
Right.
And the second book is on family and food.
Which, I mean, come on. Is there a better combination than family and food?
It's all about eating for me.
You know what? It's all about eating for me, too, Dan. Yeah. Hence the show. That's why we do what we do.
Right.
So you wrote, essentially, everybody wrote stories to contribute and then talked about how food had played a pivotal role.
Well, we had a workshop. The first workshop was last year for 6 weeks. People who are not really writers got together, and Brandy Leon Worrell, she's an editor from UCLA Asia America Journal.
Right.
So we wrote some stories. And from my own background, I lived in Alberta. I grew up in 2 cultures, Chinese culture and Western culture. So we had some really strange things that happened because of that. Well,
Dan, you have I loved the stories that you had in there as well. I mean, your dad owned a restaurant that served only Western food, but you weren't allowed to eat there.
Well, my grandfather started the restaurant, but my dad ran
the restaurant,
yeah.
Right? But you weren't allowed to eat there.
We weren't allowed to eat. We go upstairs and we have our Chinese food.
Right.
And well, the one food that we had that was Western, we have it as a specialty once in a while, and that was like Spam. My mom used to make steamed Spam, and that was.
You know what? I'm sorry about that. I can't believe that was like the one dish that you had.
We didn't know. We thought it was a delicacy, and that's the way we treated it.
I ate Spam as a kid too, right? This is the thing. So you're going to show us sort of the food that you grew up with.
Yes, I'm going to talk about the foods I grew up, mostly my mom's recipes.
Okay.
So
what kind of food? Your mom made simple food, right?
Very simple food. This is traditional Chinese village cooking.
Okay.
The traditional cooking, and in the 1970s, it transitioned into the more modern Cantonese cooking.
Right.
But this is more traditional cooking using preserved foods and fermented foods and boiling and steaming. You
also talk about, in your stories, about how it took you a long time to gain an appreciation for what it was that your mom was making.
Yeah, well, the thing is, I eat it so much, and I never really cooked it myself. So just had a chance to do some of this cooking myself just fairly recently.
Wow, for us, for the book, for the show?
Well, I've been doing some cooking, mostly stir-fry, but this is stuff I've never really cooked that much before.
Well, then let's get started, shall we? What is this first dish that we're making?
The first dish we're doing is the Lotus soup with spare ribs. Okay.
This sounds very interesting.
And the thing is, until I took the cooking workshop, I didn't know what this was called. I eat it since I was a little kid, but I didn't know what it's called.
You just liked it because it was the honeycomb soup, right?
Well, we could make prints with this. You cut it up, make prints.
You dip it in the ink and then your paint or whatever. You do that. Okay, but this is lotus root.
Yeah, this is lotus root.
Okay, so what have you? Is this how it looks when it's?
So when you buy it, you just wash it
like this,
and then just cut off the ends.
Yeah.
And then peel it with a peeler.
Like a vegetable peeler.
Just normally peel like this.
Yeah.
Like that.
Okay.
And then when you finish peeling, it looks like this. Right?
All right. And then what are we going to do with it?
And then you just cut it up like wagon wheels.
Okay, into slices here. Now, did you know what all of this, like as you say, you just learned the name of this. Were there a lot of ingredients like that you didn't know about?
Yeah, there is actually a lot of ingredients. Just by taking the workshop, I learned a lot about what things were called.
So you had to go to a class, to a workshop, to learn about things that you had grown up with.
Yeah, I never know. I just eat the stuff. I don't really know what it is.
See, I can totally sympathize with you on that one, right? Like just trying to get things written down and get that history that we really take for granted is sometimes hard to do.
I just realized this, one of the ingredients is dried scallops.
Is that what that is?
And that's dried scallop. I just found out, well, this is $78 a pound.
Whoa.
So that's pretty expensive for peasant food.
Yeah, that's pretty expensive peasant food. Yeah. I guess not so expensive back in the day.
I guess not in the old days, but right now it's very expensive.
Okay, so we'll be careful with that particular ingredient. What do we have to do here, Dan?
Okay, first of all, it's a very simple soup. So just get a big pot. I've got some going here already.
Yeah, it's already kind of cooking there.
So what you do, very simple, get all the ingredients together.
Right.
So I have about a pound of pork spare ribs.
So these are just, you've cut these up?
Yeah.
Regular pork spare ribs that you've kind of cut up into.
Actually, the stir cut it up for me.
Well, that was nice of them, wasn't it? Okay, even better. So you don't have to cut them up. Yeah?
So I cut up about a pound there.
Okay.
And I put 2 pieces of ginger.
Big chunks of ginger in there. Yeah.
So 2 pieces of ginger. And these are red dates.
Is that what those are?
Yeah.
Really? Where do you find these?
You can get it in stores like TNT and Chinese stores.
Okay.
So you can put in about 6 or as many as you like.
So how do we start this? We brown the spare ribs, or
I don't even brown it. I just
throw everything in.
Yeah, put everything in together, and
including the dried scallops.
The dried scallops, yeah.
How many of those?
Well, it's $78 a pound, so.
Be careful.
Use
sparingly.
Yeah, use sparingly, kind of thing. Maybe 6 of those would do.
Okay, and then the red dates as well.
The red dates, yeah.
And how much lotus fruit?
I put about a pound in there, so roughly 2 of these will make a pound.
Okay, and then what with water?
And then you put roughly 12 cups of water.
Wow.
Or as much as you want.
Okay, that's a lot.
It is a lot, but I usually leave the cover off and just boil it.
And let it cook up?
Yeah, if you cover it, you lose less in the water. But
is there anything else that we have to put in there?
Just a little tablespoon of soy sauce.
You want to go ahead and put that in?
Yeah.
So this is, let me just turn this on for you. This is after this has been cooking for a while, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
This is about, you cook it for about an hour, and then you can cook it for longer if you like.
Okay.
Some people cook it for like 5 or 6 hours.
Wow.
More flavor that way.
Do you remember the dishes that your mom made as being cooked for a long period of time upstairs?
Yeah, the soups are a long time, but the thing that was really interesting is my grandfather used to make Chinese medicine.
Yeah.
So he used to take a big vat, puts like 12 bottles of gin in there, puts bark and herbs, throws in the chicken and beef. And one year somebody found him a beaver. So put a beaver in there, and then he seals it up. So for about 2 years, it stays in there. And I keep asking my grandfather, what happened to the beaver, right? So after about 2 or 3 years, my grandfather unseals the vat. He bottles up the gin, and then gets this big jar, puts clear liquid in it, which I don't know what it is. It could be gin or water. Puts the beaver in the jar, and then my grandfather gives me the beaver to take to school for a show and tell.
Nice.
So
you were pretty popular at school that day.
There's a twist on the story. You have to read the book. There's a twist on the story.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm going to read the story in the commercial break. We're going to take a break. I want to hear how that ends, and we're going to have more recipes from Dan's family. Don't go away. More to come. I want to read this right now. All right, welcome back to City Cooks, everybody. Dan Cito's with us today. We're talking about family history and the connection with food that, you know what, I think everybody has that, don't they, Dan?
Right, everybody does.
Have you learned that in talking to other people? It seems to be
it seems to be
universal.
talk about food all the time.
We do talk about food all the time. Yeah, that's why the whole thing about our show, too.
Yeah. The only thing about cooking, I like eating more than cooking, but...
So do I.
Yeah.
I am so with you on that one, right? If you give me a choice, I'd prefer to eat without cooking the wheel. I agree with you completely. Okay, so what is this dish that we're making here?
Okay, this dish is called steamed pork with saltfish.
All right.
So it's a very simple dish.
Is this another one that your mother used to make?
My mother used to make this all the time.
Okay.
Steamed pork with saltfish.
All right. Do you make it yourself now?
Well, the thing is, in the old days, people would buy the pork, and they use a double cleaver to chop it up.
Right.
So I buy this from the store.
You buy the ground pork.
The ground pork.
So you're skipping a step already.
Yeah, I'm skipping a step already.
Which is a time-consuming step, right? A big one. That's good.
Yeah.
So we can do that too. Yeah. So we have ground pork here. What do we have to do?
You should kind of mix it up a little bit. But I think I should put some. I'll put the ingredients in as you mix it up a little bit.
Go ahead. Put things in. What do we have to do?
First of all, you put these Chinese sausages.
Chinese sausages. Okay.
So you can soak them in water if you like. You want a little more tender. But I put about 2 of these Chinese sausages in there.
So you just chop those up and put them in there?
Yeah.
Okay, got that.
And then you add some oil.
Okay, go ahead.
It's about 1 or 2 tablespoons full.
Okay. You were telling me
more,
earlier, though, that your dad is probably going to be watching very carefully to make sure that you do this all correctly. It's nice that you still have this fear of your dad.
I think he likes his own cooking better than...
Really? He's very picky then, is he?
Oh, he's going to be watching this. I shouldn't be saying
your
that.
mother's recipes, and your dad is the one who's going to be watching so carefully. Okay, so what else do we have to put in?
Okay, and then you put about a half teaspoon or a teaspoon of salt.
Okay, sprinkle that all over there. Good. Now, when you left home originally, right, when you moved out of your parents' house, did you still eat this food, or did you decide I'm going to try everything else in the world now?
I've been eating different kind of foods for a long time, but the thing is, I still go home all the time. My mom still makes this kind of food.
And when you go home, this is what you want, though, isn't it?
This is what she makes, and this is what I like.
Okay, what else do I have to put in here?
In fact, there's only one Chinese restaurant in Vancouver that serves this kind of food, traditional food. It's called the Foo's Ho Ho. on Pender and
Oh,
Columbia.
yeah.
So that's the last remaining restaurant that serves this style of food.
And when you say, because this is a very traditional, sort of old-fashioned type of
Yeah.
food, right?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
And then put some soy sauce in there.
Let me guess, there's no sweet and sour pork at this particular restaurant?
No. No, so,
No lettuce
they have,
wrap?
no, they have that too.
Do they have
They
a
have that
different
too.
version of that?
Well, it's the early fusion cooking, so they have variations of everything.
Okay, well, that's good.
And just recently, last year, the first time I ever had their duck salad. I've never had that before.
Really?
Yeah.
I should try this
That's
restaurant.
really,
Okay.
really good, yeah. And then you just put maybe a tablespoon of cornstarch.
Okay. How are we going to cook this, by the way?
We're going to be steaming this.
Oh, let me turn this water down,
Yeah.
because that's what we've got this sort of, there's just a big pot with water kind of simmering away
Yeah.
there, right? Okay, I'm just going to mix in the cornstarch here. What would you serve this with?
You always serve this kind of food with rice, because when you steam it, the juice comes up. And then you smother your rice with the juice.
That sounds pretty good, right?
So usually when I eat about 3 bowls of rice, but when I eat this kind of food, it's about 6 bowls of rice.
Oh, that's tough. That's really tough to do that.
Yeah.
Okay, what else do I have to put in?
Okay, and then the last thing that goes in is the
Right on
salt
top
fish.
of that? No ginger? We don't have to put the ginger in?
the ginger. Like sometimes what the people do is they stir fry the ginger in oil,
Yeah.
and then just pour it on top. But we can just
so
do
you're
it like
just going to
this.
sprinkle the ginger on
Yeah,
top of it?
I just do it
Now,
this way.
Tell me about the salt fish. What kind of fish is that?
There's actually 2 kinds of salt fish, the hard one and the soft one.
Okay.
So the hard one doesn't taste as good, but the soft one has been decomposing for a longer time.
Yummy.
So the more it stinks, the better it tastes.
Well, there's words to live by.
So this one
the
is...
more it stinks, the better it tastes.
Yeah. So I would suggest when people eat it, just cover your nose and eat it, and then there's no bias on it. Yeah.
Huh. Okay, it's a bit of a leap for people to
Yeah.
take, is it not?
But even myself, like I had a party during Christmas.
Yeah.
I used the stinky kind of saltfish.
Yeah.
And people could smell it across the living room.
Yeah.
And I'm not used to that smell either, because my mom uses this kind. This is my mom's
The kind that doesn't
the hard
smell,
kind. Yeah.
because she knew that her kids wouldn't eat it if she used the other kind.
Well, actually, we like the other kind, but I'm not used to the smell anymore.
Okay.
So it kind of hit me too.
Okay, that's good to know then. Okay, so don't worry about that. Now, do we put green onions on
Okay,
here
what
as
you
well?
do, the green onion, you just chop some green onion on top.
Okay.
But I actually have a story about green onions.
You do?
Yeah.